If you're an athlete that often finds yourself really tight in the morning, then you've come to the right video. So this is a 5-minute morning mobility / movement routine that I like to do. Now note that I have multiple routines and I kind of ebb and flow them depending on what I did the day before. So this video is really just an example of how I like to structure some of my morning movement routines and how I like to think about them. And then hopefully that can help you then build your own. So this one is designed to do after days that I do a lot of pressing work or a lot of upper body work. You'll see that throughout this video, I have some staple movements in here that I do every morning, like bodyweight squats. I have some kneeling hip stretches and so forth. But in this video specifically, I have a lot of thoracic rotation, a lot of thoracic mobility, and a lot of reaching to really open up that chest. So basically, before I sit at my computer all day, I'm gonna really try to open up my chest, do a lot of thoracic rotation, because after my day of training yesterday, I was extremely tight for my upper body work. So doing this type of work helps me loosen back up, helps me check back in with myself, and just kind of helps mitigate the overall soreness that I can accumulate when sitting and being a little bit more static with my movement throughout the day. So what that means for you is that as a lifter, think about what you trained the day before and what often gets tight for you, and then build little flows around that. This is just a 5-minute example. Sometimes I'll work for 10 or 15 minutes depending on how much time I have, how I'm feeling, and if I am just feeling really run down, I'll spend a little bit more time just stretching and breathing and really trying to check in with myself. So one thing I will say throughout this video too is that I am by no means the picture perfect mobile yogi. I have a lot of work to do when it comes to my hips, my thoracic, and just my overall mobility in general. Honestly, it's been a constant struggle for me to work with, and it's been something that I'm continuing to improve every day. And doing stuff like this is seriously amazing. It's been a great step forward, because the way I like to think of like any form of passive mobility work or just kind of just moving in general, putting yourself into positions that you're not used to, it's like accruing interest in a bank account, right? So the more 5-minute mobility routines we do, the more mobility work we do throughout the day and so forth, the more we just spend time in positions that we don't normally put ourselves into, it accrues, it builds, it builds, it builds. You might not see an instant improvement right away, but you should have seen some of this thoracic rotation work I was doing just a couple months ago when quarantine started. It was ugly, but now I'm actually starting to feel and check in with myself and get to a point to where I feel comfortable doing some of these movements and sharing them, because I have started to accrue enough interest to where my body is starting to slowly change and open up a little bit more. Now I still have a ton of work to do, but it is getting better. Like that seated quad stretch right there, normally I couldn't even get into that. I had surgery on my quad about 2.5 years ago, and it's still a struggle sometimes on that left leg to get into certain positions. And my quad was so tight, my hips were so tight that I couldn't even do that. But now I can actively sit there, breathe, and feel comfortable doing so. So again, that's just a good example of how as an athlete, doing these little things build up over time. And I can't stress enough that if you are trying to improve something like your mobility, getting better at being in certain positions, it's not going to happen right away. It's going to be a drag, especially if you don't like doing this type of work like myself. But the more you do it and the more you get into the habit of it, the better you're going to get over time. And you're going to start to see little changes that you don't even realize are present. I'm moving better. I'm feeling way more comfortable in the bottom of the squat. I'm just honestly feeling better in general. And it's because of little things like this. It's not the lifting I'm doing per se, it's the accrued interest of these little things that are on top of the lifting. So it's all of these little tiny things we do throughout our daily basis that add up over time. And that's what I think the big focal point of this video is. So for you personally, try to build a movement flow that works for your body, that just helps you feel better in the morning. I like to check in with myself at different body parts and so forth, work from the ground up, or I'll start with like my baseline movements like the squat, runner's lunge and so forth, and then progress from there based on what I did the day before. At the end of this, I always like to do like a minute of just active movement. So I'll do some bodyweight squats, some push-ups, some lunges and so forth, just to get the blood flowing after doing a little bit more of that static work or passive work for that matter. And then we get into our day. And please don't mind the doggos here running around. Usually they're actually all over me, but today I got lucky and they kind of left me alone for the most part. But have a good day. Hopefully you use this in the morning. If you want to copy this routine, go for it. But I would highly suggest making your own and attacking your day.